Great day, parents and scholars. We are continuing with fractions. We are comparing fractions, and another strategy that we have in our toolkit is converting or renaming each fraction by finding a common denominator. Okay, so how we do that, the scholars know they're going to multiply the two denominators together. So 5 times 3 is 15. So 5 times what number equals 15? And then we're going to come over here to the 3. 3 times what equals our 15. So this is our common denominator, 15. So let's start with this one. 5 times what number gives us 15? Well, let me count, do my multiples of 5. 5, 10, 15. So we get 3. If we do times 3 at the bottom, we have to do times 3 at the top. And 3 times 3 gives us 9. So we have renamed 3/5 to 9/15. Okay? I also want to point out that it is also the equivalent of 3/15, right? Because we multiplied the denominator and numerator by the same number. So 3/5 and 9/5 are also equivalent fractions. Okay? Now we come over here. 3 times what number gives us 15? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. That gives me 5. If I do times 5 to the denominator, I must do times 5 to the numerator. And 5 times 2 is 10. So here we have it. 9/15 and 10/15. We just renamed each fraction, but it makes it easier to compare because the denominators are the same. So the only thing we need to focus on now is the numerator, which is larger, the 9 or the 10. Of course, it's 10. So the alligator is going to go to the larger number. Okay. Now, we're going to do a few more. So let's erase this here. In our next one, we're going to do 3/5 and 4/6. I'm leaving space intentionally because I know I'm going to have to do some work here. Now, we're finding our common denominator. We're going to multiply our denominators. 5 times 6 is 30, so we're going to do times blank equals 30. Come over here, times blank equals 30. So we're going to start here. 5 times what gives us 30? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. That's 6. If I do times 6 to the denominator, I must do times 6 to its numerator. And 3 times 6 is 18. 6 times blank equals 30. 6, 12, 18, 24, and 30. That's 5. So times 5 here. If I do times 5 to the denominator, I must do times 5 times its numerator. And 4 times 5 is 20. So we're going to frame it with our rectangle. Each fraction. So we have 18/30ths and 20/3, which is the same, or which is greater. 20/30ths is greater. Okay? And we also going to check it by doing the butterfly. They are not allowed to do the butterfly only. They have to do it with a strategy. This is a mechanism in which we can check. 3 times 6 is 18. 4 times 5 is 20, which is larger. 20 is larger than 18, so the alligator is going to eat the biggest piece first. And this also solidifies that our answer is correct. Okay, we're going to move on to one more. Let's do 3/4 and 1/2. 4 times 2 is 8. So 4 times blank equals 8. 2 times blank equals 8. So 4 times 2 gives us 8. We do times 2 at the bottom. You must do times 2 at the top. 3 times 2 is 6. Now, one thing I want to draw close attention to as well, as you notice when you do times blank equals, is always that other denominator. Okay, so the only thought of multiplication that you really have to put in perspective is when you're doing the numerators. Okay, Here, 2 times what gives us 8? That 4. We do times 4 at the bottom. To the denominator, you have to do times 4 to its numerator. And so we have 4 eighths. So let's frame it. We have 6 eighths. We have 4 eighths, which is larger. 6 is larger than 8. We're also going to do the butterfly with our original fraction to solidify that our answer is correct. Okay? So anytime it's asking to compare fractions, this is another strategy under our belt. Okay? So practice, practice, practice with those. I also want to reach back to a problem that we had earlier, is to give them a figure. So now that we have computation, now we're being introduced more and more to the word problems that they're going to be asked to solve. And so I want to do one as a review to see where we are. Okay. Okay, so this is a figure. This is figure A, figure B, figure C, figure D. Okay, and the students are being asked to identify the equivalent fractions. So the very first thing they are to do is not to redraw the same fraction that they see on their screen or on the board. I want them to name what is the fraction. This is 3 out of 4 shaded, so this is 3/4. Identify this is 1/3. Identify this is 6/8. Identify that this is 2/3. Okay. Now we're going to see which ones are equivalent. That means which ones are the same. So I will look at, let's try these first two first. We have 3/4 and we have 1/3. Okay, one way you can do it is multiplying the numerator and denominator, and we get 12. 4 times what gives us 12? 3. We do times 3 at the bottom. We must do times 3 at the top. 3 times 3 is 9, so this new one is 9/12. 3 times what gives us 12? That's 4. 1 times 4 is 4, and that's 4/12. These are not equivalent because that is 9 and that's 4, so that's not equivalent. Okay, so let me try 6/8 and 2/3. For here, let me do the butterfly method. That's 18. 8 times 2 is 16, but they're not the same. Okay, so let's move on. Let's do we did 3/4 and 1/3. Now let's do 3/4 and 6/8, and I'm going to do the butterfly. 24. Oh, 24 equal, I found my equivalent fractions. It is figure A and figure C. Now, I want to point out that, of course, when we're using fractions, they're going to need it. They're going to need to know how to find the common denominator. But in this problem here, it's not asking, it's not giving where you need to find the common denominator. In other words, if this is a test, we don't want to spend so much time doing the finding the common denominator when we can easily do a butterfly, because it says which ones are equivalent, so we know automatically we're comparing to see which one has the same, which ones are the same. So I'm trying to get them to see and visualize when you're testing, this is where you want to go, because you're going to have other problems where it's multi-step that's going to take longer. This one shouldn't take as long. butterfly them, see which ones are the same, and move on to the next problem. Okay? So in essence, they have different strategies or different tools, but that's why knowing that multiplication is so important. It really cuts down time, because this will be what we consider a recall question, which is like a level 1 question. This is one every fourth grader should get correct. So it shouldn't take much time on the level 1 questions. Okay, they're just like right there. Can you find the equivalent? And the students are asked to do that. Okay, so we're going to continue working on fractions. The students were given a topic C quiz, and I will be sending your scores out, and students that may need to retest on that to get a better score on next week. And I thank you for your time. Bye bye.